Hey everybody, so welcome to today's session. I look forward to sharing today's topic with you, which is very, very relevant. So I hope that you are ready for a very packed and informative session that is going to strongly impact your life. Okay, I'm back. So, yeah, what is a spiritual community without devotee care? And this is today's topic. So, this is really important. We're going to discuss, the essential factors of a healthy and an unhealthy spiritual community, reasons why we need care in our spiritual communities, from individuals to group, um, and the effects of spiritual communities without devotee care, without care, and we'll share some research as well and experiences, personal experiences from some people on these topics. So, first of all, what is a spiritual community without devotee care? Well, that is a very impersonal community, which has a multitude of negative effects. And I would strongly advise getting involved in something like that, or making it okay. So, what is impersonal? So, we'll look at the Merriam-Webster definition of impersonal. Impersonal is without human warmth, friendliness, relation that makes people feel interested or involved. So something without natural human warmth, friendliness, or relatability, which are the things that usually make people feel interested or involved. So in a spiritual sense, there's also a deeper understanding of what impersonal means, and that would be, impersonal in a spiritual sense is something that is in relation with our Creator, or our idea of God, or the divine original creator of this world that we live in and us. So impersonal in a spiritual sense would be something that is distant and without features, thinking about our Creator as someone who is distant, and without features. Someone that we cannot serve or interact with personally. It's just there, but there can't be like a personal interaction of service and reciprocation. This is not really like the Creator's true nature. Unfortunately, we've kind of got stumped, we've kind of got misled over the years by new offshoots of spiritual teachings that kind of phased out the original truths about the Creator and kind of cut our personal ability to relate personally as opposed to impersonally with the Creator. So we'll look at that. But yeah, so why, if we don't have communities with spiritual care and devotee care, what happens is that people will simply end up being more attracted to Maya, or material life, the material world, which is the illusion or the matrix that we live in. They also might just be attracted to other communities, if they are involved or experience a community without devotee care. They'll either just go back to material life without spirituality, or they may be attracted to other communities that have better spiritual care, even devotee care, even if those communities might not nourish them with clear spiritual guidance. But if there's a lot of devotee care, then people end up being attracted, even if it's not spiritually nourishing. So that is something that could pose an issue. And in some circumstances, the spiritual communities without devotee care are abusive institutions, or institutional abuse. Interfamily abuse will be going on different levels. So we should really embrace and understand this founding fact that, we need to have respect and love for everything in this world when we know that it has a divine source. This everything literally comes from and belongs to the Creator. And even our bodies, to our best capacity, we need to also have great respect and love for our bodies and the bodies of others. Because of that reason, everything is originally divine. And that is a normal, humane, and spiritual way to see and deal with other people, other living entities. So, especially when we're using these bodies in our service and activities, they need to be respected and loved from us to others as well. So, for example, you don't expect someone to work laboriously for you, but you're not giving them anything to take care of their body. Now, would you? That would be really immoral. That would be exploitative. Secondly, another example is like you wouldn't expect someone to even like serve you, do something as a service towards you, and you not doing anything in reciprocation towards them, or even checking in how they are. So I hope you understand what that means. So basically, our spiritual institutions in this world are made up of voluntary service. They're made up of voluntary service offered by individuals in a community. And that is in reciprocation to that, then they should receive spiritual and social nourishment from that organization, from that spiritual organization. That must be there. Otherwise, the leaders within that spiritual organization are embezzling money and service. They're not in the right type of work for them. If they can't operate in that position and easily, put a lot of energy into pumping nourishment into the community spiritually and socially, then we have people that are not in the right type of work for them in those positions, which is very common in today's Kali Yuga. So that is something that we need to look at, putting the right people in those positions of power and in those central positions within spiritual organizations. Otherwise, we'll see all of these things, negative effects occurring. So we're going to look at some of those. What we need is to understand that, so we can look at two questions. Okay, number one, are the organizers and leaders, as well as the people inhabiting and living within those organizations, like sometimes people live in the temples or the churches, whatever, are they operating well? How are they operating in terms of their service, in terms of their mental well-being, in terms of their health and their social effectiveness? Secondly, are the family units that are part of that community supporting? Are they supporting those people, and are they supporting the organization? Because some people that are part of spiritual communities as householders are not really involved in the spiritual community or offering any kind of support. They just kind of go there to receive. So that is kind of an indication most of the time of also an unhealthy community or a dysfunctional community. So yeah, we're going to look a little bit more about also how are those householders operating. Are they also operating well within their own like home units and their own personal lives? So we'll look a little bit more in detail about like these householders and people that are living normal lives from their homes but involved in a spiritual community, and how should they be functioning if we know that with or without devotee care. So with devotee care, they'll be operating well. They'll be following the helpful spiritual standards which are offered by the organization, by the spiritual community. They'll be easily and inspiredly following those standards, and they'll be very inspired and happy to maintain those standards and share and spread those standards with love and care for other people. So we can look at that. Are these householder community units, are they, and individuals in those units, are they getting social and networking opportunities? And are they getting sources of social and network opportunities that are for inspiration from the organization? So for inspiration, is the organization providing those sources of inspiration socially and within their networking, their social networking, for those householder units? That's one question. Do we see are we seeing are we seeing the examples? Like, are those units, those individuals and those units, are we seeing examples? Are they setting examples of care and giving? Are we seeing examples of care and giving, a lot of strong examples of care and giving from those householders? And are we seeing that they're also thriving from that, so that they're in a giving mood and a caring mood towards a community? Are they able to inspire the next generation? So the children that they're bringing up, are they easily able to inspire them into following suit happily and voluntarily, not like forcefully or abusively? Is that a natural culture that's being produced and passed down? Is there the sharing of correct knowledge and wisdom to cultivate their intelligence? So is the organization providing that within the community? And are the individual units able to also find and reproduce and pass down the correct knowledge and wisdom that they are able to use to cultivate their intelligence socially, spiritually, at home, and work and goals and everything? Also, is the organization teaching and sharing with them how to healthily embrace this spiritual culture, not like fanatically or judgmentally? We don't want spiritual communities which are inspiring people to fanatically and judgmentally take up spiritual life and practice spiritual life and deal with other people and other things in the material world. So are they also teaching them how to deal with things in the material world and people and other things in the material world, which also might pull them away from their spirituality and be a threat to their well-being and their spirituality? Is the organization teaching them how to deal with these things in a non-aggressive and fanatical or judgmental way? That's kind of maturity, and are those individuals in their units, are they in the Grihastha units, are they practicing what they preach and teach also themselves intrinsically, internally, and within their households, within their workplaces, within everything? Are they keeping a loving sense of community, a loving community atmosphere, and constantly serving each other? That's important. That will make a spiritual community thrive, really, if everybody is actively keeping a loving community atmosphere and constantly willingly serving each other, or sometimes even out of a sense of duty. That's also okay, that creates love in that service in future. Are they protecting the women? This is something not to be underestimated. This is such an important consideration within healthy spiritual communities. Are they protecting the women? Because from the women being protected in a spiritual organization or a healthy community, all good will come. It brings all kinds of levels of wealth and fortune and well-being and everything. On the flip side, alternatively, when this is not happening, when women are not being protected, then everything will fail. Everything will become inauspicious, and the community members will become very hard. They will become very hard, and too hard, and also potentially very abusive or exploitative. That tendency for those kinds of behaviors and treatments will be higher in communities where women are not protected. They will not be healthy or genuinely spiritual because of that reason. So don't overlook that factor, even if you're a guy and you need to learn those qualities. So understand that maintenance is in the mode of goodness. Maintenance is a good normal standard, and below that, it's very hard to access spirituality or practice spirituality in a regular and healthy way. So maintenance should be there. Maintenance, check if there is maintenance of the facilities, of the programs, of the consistency of how people are treated, of the operations going there, of everything, and ways to encourage that. And lastly, also, like, are those units, those individuals and those people supporting those expanding love and community to new and struggling people? Are they, because not everybody has the time or the capacity to do that, but they might be still part of or attending a spiritual organization. So are they supporting those that are expanding the love and the community to other struggling individuals? That is very important in a healthy spiritual organization. That they're not training people to just become selfish, well off, but that everybody is in this world should get some, and we should try and bring them. So those are some important things to look at, questions to check, and ways in which we can see the positive effects of care, devotee care, are being lived and are being practiced and spreading into the community, which is making it something substantial and relevant and real, as a spiritual community. There cannot be materially discriminatory behaviors within a community which is not corrected, within a spiritual community that is not corrected. If there are materially discriminatory behaviors that are prevalent, which is incredibly likely in today's world, because we all kind of come conditioned out of a world like that in schools and experience and media and everything. But there should be an active, effort and systems and things which are going on to correct and reduce and remove material discriminations. So I'm talking now about a lot of things. I'm talking about racism, I'm talking about ageism, I'm talking about too much valorizing of veterans within the organization that stagnate new souls or new relevant methods from coming in. A healthy spiritual organization needs adaptability, it needs relevance, and it needs to appeal to the youth. Otherwise, what's the use if it's not relevant to what's present? So that's a form of material discrimination. Sometimes senior people in that organization stagnate and block it from being relevant and relatable and expanding. Is there sexism, chauvinism? Chauvinism is a very big problem in spiritual communities, and something which is kind of normalized because of how people misinterpret and misuse spiritual texts and their understanding of historical cultures and historical ways of life. So the protection of women is not something which is controlling, abusive, or to be taken as someone men putting themselves as superior, and in that meaning there should be condescending or abusive or constricting, controlling behavior towards women. So chauvinism, spiritual women have to be worshipped. They have to be worshipped and protected for anything to thrive. And that is a normal, basic standard in a healthy spiritual community. They should never be abused, otherwise everything will fail. There's also discrimination like financial and wealth discrimination, which is not good. A lack of variety in financial and wealth groups within a spiritual organization, even within any kind of organization that's social, forms very unhealthy communities. If it's just really favoring or focusing on just one, depending, but usually that can result in things like crime and gangsterism. So racism, ageism, sexism, chauvinism, material wealth and financial discrimination, nationalism as well is a form of discrimination. That's something unhealthy. unhealthy in a spiritual community, in a healthy spiritual community. Because on these standards of material discrimination, the love and the care that the organization is supposed to produce and push out into society and the communities is being hindered or biased or corrupted and not all inclusive. And that's not going to form a healthy balance in society either when everybody needs it. So consider these factors. Consider these factors very seriously. Look at the community that you're involved in or that you're assessing, and consider how are they overcoming their prejudices and their lacks. How are they doing that? So you can see if something active is actually happening. It's not possible when there's a high prevalence of impersonalism within that community or within the teachings of that community. So a lot of the majority, unfortunately, of spiritual teachings on the planet today are based in impersonalism, and they will have this lack of devotee care. And so our world is falling apart, as we can see. Or we have very shallow and fake institutions that are also only cater and nourish a very select group. So it's not possible with impersonalism. They don't care about serving each other and the community, individuals within that community. They just become self-serving. They don't even care about serving the organization. So investigate thoroughly before getting in, and avoid what's going to ruin you. Please. People end up, if they don't investigate these things, they end up getting exploited, they end up getting misled, they end up getting miseducated, they end up taking up bad, false, incorrect education, and they will become more materialistic. They end up becoming more materialistic members of society. That's a possible side effect of a community without devotee care, the impact that it has on individuals that are part of that spiritual community. They become more materialistic, prejudiced, fanatical, impersonal. It can actually aggravate those negative factors within individuals and individual units and make it worse. So we have to check that the people with the right nature are also in power and leading those communities. And are the people in positions of power there to inspire personal giving into the community? Are they inspiring personal giving into all of the members of that community? Otherwise, what are they doing? They're just embezzling money and service. Are they prejudiced? Check if they're prejudiced. All of those things, check with the leaders as well. So why, we're going to just go back, check a little bit back and just check why, it's not possible with impersonalism, and how are they overcoming their prejudices and their lacks. It's not possible with impersonalism because, as I said, the care can't spread from individuals outward. It's that desire is not there. And also, that's why, actually, Vaishnavism as a spiritual practice is the highest spiritual practice. It's the highest realization of spirituality, actually, because it starts with Vaishnavism starts with a very intimately personal and positive action, mentally orientated, relationship with God that people develop and are taught and that experience with God, the divine, whatever the higher, and that one source that unites all of us above material discrimination. So for that reason, it's very effective in kind of getting straight into easily opening those gates and lowering those barriers for the community to operate healthily and connect and share and give, without discrimination and boundaries. And that's important, that the philosophy and the teaching is so intimately personal and based on positive action in our relationships, that that example of the teachings is then easily reciprocated and reflected and followed into how we behave as individuals within the community. And that example is easily poured down into the communities as well. And it also is a teaching which really connects us with our natural true nature, which is the same. It's the same as God's, that the Creator. Our internal being is. We have all of this conditioning and covering from our mind and the way we grow up and our bodies and all this thing, but it's not our true identity. I mean, you can go into part 2 of the class I did on self love and understand that differentiation between our real and our false identity. Um, but our true identity is intrinsically the same as the Creator's. So yeah, it's eternal. It's the same as the Creator's, and it's eternal, meaning that's the ground permanent state of our true identity. Um, Therefore, we can understand that that will really work. You know, if something that connects us with those qualities are deeply personal, are like the Creator is deeply personal and positively, lovingly, mercifully orientated. So we are also like that intrinsically. So when we connected with a teaching like that, it's much more easy for us to be conditioned by it and reciprocate and reflect it and reproduce it. Okay, so that's just my personal opinion and experience and research. But yeah, also, when we look at a spiritual community, we need to assess when we're investigating what are they doing for devotee care. How are they caring for the members that are serving and interested in this spiritual organization? Check, do your checks, investigation. Are the grihastas thriving spiritually? Are they thriving, and are they easily maintaining the standards? If yes, then good, healthy community, devotee care. Are they exploiting? Check, are they exploiting or caring for people in how service is being engaged and organized? Say you just need someone to get something done and you don't care how it's going to impact them for their future, for their present, for their health, for their mental well-being, but you just need a body to do the work. It's exploitation. But when you're thinking of someone's well-being, then you're going to think of how to engage them in a way that's going to benefit them and the community overall. So check if that's going on. And or are there any discriminations and prejudices in the way that people are being engaged in service as well? Or like some are getting exploited and some are getting supported and cared for. Important. Are these communities, is that community being accessible to and catering to different wealth groups and age groups? Is it being accessible and catering to different wealth groups and age groups? Because that keeps people sane, that keeps it healthy if there's a variety. Does the organization intrinsically protect its women? Intrinsically, through and through, on all levels. Are the leaders not preying on the women sexually? It's obvious, but people don't even check. You need to check. You need to open your eyes and check. And are members giving money for their own benefit or the betterment of the organization, like outreach and community? Are they thinking of their own benefit, or are they thinking of the improvement of the community and outreach and other people outside of the community? If obviously that outreach comes only after the individuals within the community are also topped up. They're full, they're nourished, and they're well. That they're good. Because if it's not like that, then what happens is this very external thing, this very external kind of outreach. If there's a lot of outreach also and community work, like in a spiritual community, but the individual members of the community are not nourished, not being cared for, not being noticed, not full and happy and willingly practicing and easily maintaining standards and being respected and cared for, etc., then what's happening is a very external. People of that community are looking for power and honor They're not trying to improve themselves or the community or society at whole. It's not a spiritual thing. They're not in a mood of service towards the community. They're just looking for honor and power and recognition, and we really have to consider, like, are we attracting people into something healthy? Are they attracting people into something healthy? Why should there be so much of outreach when things internally are not going well? It's like, it's not considerate, it's selfish. So maybe the wrong motivations are there then for the outreach. Maybe it's just money, or I don't know, so many things, labor. It's definitely not good to do outreach in those circumstances. Then there needs to be a lot of internal work before outreach things are explored. So again, a little shady. Okay, so yeah, I want to explore a topic, something which is called spiritual bypassing. So this is a term which was coined by John Wellwood in the 1980s, spiritual bypassing. So I'm going to read this definition to you. The tendency to use spiritual beliefs or practices to avoid facing difficult emotions or psychological issues. This is a big problem in our world today and within our spiritual organizations. It involves sidestepping personal struggles, emotional unfinished business, and developmental tasks in the name of spiritual growth or enlightenment. I'll read that again. It involves sidestepping personal struggles, emotional unfinished business, and developmental tasks in the name of spiritual growth or enlightenment. So the teachings are kind of making people learn how to be avoidant. Essentially, it is a form of avoidance that can hinder true healing and personal development. So this is what we call spiritual bypassing. So we need to assess also, are the members of a community harboring this kind of attitude or behavior? Even individuals that we engage with, like random people we meet could be using spirituality and religion and applying spiritual bypassing. So this is a form of impersonalism, definitely. I want to read something. So we're going to just read take a more detailed look at spiritual bypassing. So avoidance and repression. Spiritual bypassing often involves using spiritual ideas to repress or avoid dealing with painful feelings, unresolved traumas, or difficult life situations. So it's repression and avoidance. Shoring up a weak self. It can also be used to compensate for a shaky sense of self or to create a full sense of spiritual maturity. So there's not a clear and real, authentic, founded idea of oneself and one's real understanding of their spiritual maturity, or they could be acting more advanced and spiritually mature than they are. Belittling needs and feelings. By focusing on spiritual concepts, basic human needs and emotions can be minimized or dismissed. And this can usually come out in a dangerous way. So, consequences. Spiritual bypassing can prevent genuine healing, hinder personal growth, and perpetuate unhealthy patterns of avoidance. It's important to differentiate spiritual bypassing from genuine spiritual practices that involve introspection, self-reflection, and engagement with difficult emotions and healthy genuine spiritual practices involve introspection, self-reflection, not just like pointing fingers, blaming, criticizing, judging, and engagement with difficult emotions, going in, getting in there, doing the shadow work, fixing them, facing them, living in them, breathing them, fixing them, difficult emotions, and getting involved also in creating healthy situations. So genuine spiritual practices also are focused on getting involved in creating healthy situations, giving appropriate care, and protection to other living beings where we have the capacity. Okay, so that's just a little bit on spiritual bypassing. Why do we need devotee care in spiritual communities? Why do we need care? Because care is our intrinsic and natural nature. It's our intrinsic and natural nature to have loving and personal interactions on a soul level with other living beings, even cats and dogs and sheep and cows. All the troubles and longings in a non-spiritually clear person come from this lack. Okay, so we're going to look at, what are the effects, what are the results of psychological care and of physical care. These are aspects of devotee care in a healthy spiritual organization. So what are the benefits of psychological care? That's psychological care and physical social care. So psychological care maintains and enhances a person's well-being. Maintains it and it enhances it. So it's just onwards and upwards. When someone has psychological care, they can't go down. Okay, so that makes it crucial for being able to cope with life's difficulties. We need psychological care in a community. And it also helps us to build healthy relationships. Healthy ones. Okay? Not just being popular or succeeding in some industry. But building healthy popular relationships. It also helps people to achieve their personal and professional goals when they have psychological care. And it's also an integral part of our overall health, of course. So psychological care impacts our physical functioning, it impacts our cognitive function, our mental function, and it impacts our emotional stability. So when there's psychological care, there's much more improved emotional stability as well. We need that in a very trying world. It helps us to manage stress. It helps us to develop healthy resilience, not avoidance or sheepish behavior, but resilience, healthy resilience. And it helps us to have a better quality of life. We need that just a little bit in this Kali Yuga. So it also enhances our self-esteem. Psychological care enhances a person's self-esteem. So that's just a little bit from WHO, World Health Organization article. I will share links for some of the references and sources of some of these facts and research that I've done. Okay, that will be in the comments. So what are the effects of the benefits of physical social care within a spiritual organization? So, and for the individuals, of course, this is kind of looking from there. The body needs to be maximized, a maximized tool for service. We are using these bodies in our service and in our engagement and our involvement. We can't just negate that fact as spiritual bypassing. It's a tool which is being used and needs to be cared for. So that must be there. It's important for survival. It's important for survival. It's important for psychological well-being as well, that there's physical care. Our overall health needs that physical care. It creates a sense of belonging, safety, and support. That's what the individuals feel when there is physical care. And this is crucial. Feeling a sense of belonging, safety, and support keeps a person's mental and physical health on a good level. It enables us to learn. So we can go into the mind, we can go into higher topics when there's physical well being. It enables us to develop relationships as well. We have the time for that. It enables us to navigate the world effectively. So when your health is good, your mind is operating good, you're having an effective impact on your navigation of this world. It's effective. It's not just passing, transient, blurred by disturbances. Mental and emotional health reduces stress and anxiety. It helps us to develop and form strong social connections. Okay, when there's physical care, it helps us to form strong social connections that are linked to lower rates of depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. So you might be thriving in your social connections, but they might be filled and drenched with high rates of depression, anxiety, and mental health issues. Some people just bond over that. Let's try avoid that. It also helps to take people out of survival mode when there's physical care, which is so important. Survival mode, you cannot access spirituality when you're in survival mode. The two can't mix. They don't allow one to get to the other. So, it also helps people to have stronger immune systems. Social isolation can weaken a person's immune system. That's what we spoke about in the last session. The heart is all about connection and love and community connection, Developing social skills. It helps us to develop social skills by practicing and experiencing physical care, such as empathy, communication, cooperation. It's hard for people to cooperate when there's no physical care. You'll notice that. Even just like married couples, it's hard for them to cooperate with each other when they don't physically care about each other. It helps with memory problem solving skills. It increases memory problem solving skills. Cultural transmission. It improves cultural transmission. So knowledge and values can be passed down from generation to generation. That's a lot of benefits, guys. So please absorb that. Those are the benefits that we want to receive within a healthy spiritual organization. That's what we want in a healthy spiritual community. What is a spiritual community without these things? It's just a philosophy. So Prabhupada, which is one of my favorite gurus who I often quote, he on this topic. These were some of his perspectives. So, for example, he wanted no one within a 10-mile radius of any of his temples to go hungry. So he started this whole feeding program where they just create buckets and buckets and tons of nourishing vegetarian food and give it into the community where people are struggling, war zones, crisis zones, poverty-stricken areas daily. It's now I think it's the biggest food distribution organization in the whole world, relief, and it's vegetarian. So it's giving people good karma and good health. That's an example of devotee care. That's an example of care. No one should even go hungry. Overcoming, he said, it's very helpful, that devotee care is very helpful for people to be able to overcome mental challenges and can be a path towards greater spiritual understanding because we're able to overcome mental challenges. People with mental challenges are very under the control of material nature, and they may not have complete control over their thoughts and actions. When someone is very under control of, material nature, those modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, which you can reference in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, then they can't overcome mental challenges, and it can create a lot of hurdles in open and accessible spiritual understandings. He also encouraged the application of various fields of knowledge uh, in, God and divine consciousness, and so as a service, so psychology, health, well-being, all of those things. um Application of various fields of knowledge, science, everything, apply it into spirituality, and just build it up, well, or see how it relates to what's being passed down. There's another amazing guru, his name's Giri Raj Swami, and these were some of his reflections on the topic. And also, in his, actually, these are his personal experiences under a leader, Prabhupada, who gave so much devotee care to his disciples. And he would say things like, Prabhupada protected his disciples from becoming discouraged. He cared for them. He protected them. He fed them. He cared so much for them. He always encouraged us no matter what. So that encouragement is also a form of devotee care. How are we encouraging each other? How are they encouraging each other? How can it be created, amplified? One of the duties of the spiritual master is to see that, even Jesus was a spiritual master, is to see that the disciples have proper accommodations. So that was also a responsibility to took up. Is everybody well housed? Are they safe? Do they have somewhere nice to sleep? Proper accommodations. He also emphasized mental and emotional care for his disciples. Mental and emotional care, and how important it is with respect to spiritual progress. So that's some information from a blog written by Giri Raj Swami, as well as another one on the ISKCON Desire Tree. Yeah. Spiritual communities. So we're just going to summarize basically what we looked at today, these important facts. Spiritual communities without devotee care, I don't think that there are. I wouldn't even call it spiritual. They are impotent. They are ineffective, impotent. They are impersonal. They are exploitative or abusive, usually. They can condition people into becoming narcissists, psychopaths, and they can increase mental health and physical health disorders within members of the community. They can actually increase that and produce that. Imagine something that can produce narcissists and psychopaths. We have to be careful. They can breed fanatics. They can increase spiritual bypassing. They can be impotent in creating healthy communities. Ineffective in creating healthy communities, different or better than just general materialists. So it's not different to a materialist community. It's not a spiritual community. What are the benefits? The benefits must always outweigh, because sometimes some of the negative things will be there, but they're being actively worked on because people come in with them. And some people stick with them quite hard. It's hard for them to get out of them. But what is the community doing to remove those things? And do they have all of these positive symptoms? Are they healing the family units? Are they making them active and inspired and healthy and easily maintaining? Are they protecting women? Are they generating abundance? Are they spreading wisdom from people with inspired and willingly full cups? The cups are willingly full because they're operating from a point of inspiration, not fear, or like fear as a motivation in a spiritual community, or criticism, like some spiritual communities degrade and break people down and abuse them, and that's their inspiration for whatever. Are they uplifting and caring for one another indiscriminately, not just some people, not just the seniors or the old members or the Indians or the white people or the black people, indiscriminately, or the old ones or the young ones only? Are they forming strong and lasting healthy relationships? Are the people within there, and are they supporting the members in the organization, hitting it up and living within the in the institution, whatever? Are they expanding blissfully, not illegally or dirtily or cheatingly? And are they maintaining? Are they in the mode of goodness? Is there maintenance in all the fields? And are they producing healthy individuals? There's an unhealthy one, could even make people ill. Are they producing healthy individuals? So I hope that we can reflect on some of these very important facts and circumstances. Look at what is a spiritual community without devotee care, and what could it be with devotee care, and let's work towards creating something better. We all have something to contribute, definitely. Thank you. Please share your reflections, questions, queries, doubts, interests with me. You can get hold of me. I'd love to hear them and take it further, and your ideas as well. See what we can create.